road trip video this time again. This time we went to the Retro Man Cave down in Gloucestershire in Stroud, where there's also the arcade archive that Alex had set up. So we went down there and we met Neil and Holly and Dan and Richard, who were there, and they put on another great event. This one was from a guy called Mike Driver, and his talk was on from coin-ops to tabletops, electronic tabletop games back in the 70s and 80s, I suppose. And he's got a book out on it that he was selling there as well. And I got him to sign it, actually, my copy. And the talk was brilliant. It was covering a lot of the branded games like Grandstand popped to mind. I had a Grandstand BMX Flyer. That was actually my favourite back in the day. I've still got one. I'm not sure if it's still working though. But he also talks about the other Japanese tabletop consoles, if you call them that, how they were built, their different makes and models, the licensing in some cases, but a lot of them appear to be rip-offs really of the mainstream titles. But it was a really interesting talk. So without any further ado, we'll show you the video of getting down there. All of the consoles that Retro Man Cave had got in the cabinets, or the tabletop versions, and some of Mike's talk as well, because it was great. So thank you very much to Neil for permission to film a lot of Mike's talk, and for having us for a great event down at the Retro Man Cave. Right then guys, we've made it to the Retro Man Cave down here in Gloucestershire. It's day 2 of a big weekend, and we're going to have a good time looking around all the handheld consoles, game consoles, old PCs that you can see around me behind. And then this afternoon we've got a talk from Mike Driver on his book, from coin-ops to handhelds, which will be really interesting to see how the arcade games actually transversed into becoming small handheld consoles. We'll do a bit of video of them in the cabinet over there. They look fantastic.
Today we have a special guest speaker with us, who I'm scanning the room for. Where are you, Mike? There you are, Mike. So Mike Driver joins us today. Some of you may know him as an author of no less than 5 books now, and his latest one is From Arcades to Tabletops, which is in the shop. You can have a look at that today. Mike is going to give us a talk, so there's 2 important times to remember today. 1 o'clock for lunch in here, 2 o'clock for the talk, and the arcade will open from midday as well. 3 important times. We've got Rid with us today, who's also got, down there on the plan chest is an extra display of handheld and tabletops from his collection. And most of what we have on display over here is from his collection on long-term loan as well. So Rid will have lots to tell you about that as well as Mike. Mike, you've set a special high score challenge for us today, haven't you?
Yeah, in the room just through there is a Grandstand pinball wizard. So if you have 5 balls on that, write your name, write your high score down, and if you're the high score at the end of the day, you win a book, a signed book. Sadly, it's not the coin-ops book, but it's a previous book of mine. You can take it home as a bit of a booby prize. Yes, if you do like it, please do, yeah.
Also on display we have, if you've been watching the recent Amiga Arcadia series, we've managed to source an arcade cabinet for that, and it's all laid up in the garage and watchable if not playable, so you can go and have a look at that today. And Richard, you may recall he made a 3D printed arcade machine not so long ago. Oh, he's done it again. It's not quite finished, but you can see the progress on his latest 3D printed creation as well down in the arcade. So there's lots to see today. Please enjoy it. If it's your first time, please, everyone is friends here, please chat to everyone. We're all here for a nice day. And if you want to join us at the end of the day, we're at the Curio Lounge in Stroud from 6 p.m. where you're all welcome to join us for dinner and drinks as well. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Okay.
key, but it's got that white. We haven't yet. We will do that.
As well. And that's the whole
and you can actually control
Well, I say customers as in so when it comes to
yes, and then the ULA here, especially that is that's effectively a lot of chips like this condensed down to one chip. So yeah, that's just a standard. PLA, that's universal. That's surely won't have yeah, absolutely.
I believe
That is specific to the spec.
In the city.
And please, Mike, help yourself to grab anything off the shelves if you want to show props. Give them to people to pass around. We're very hands-on here, whatever you want to do. Right. So please put your hands together for Mike Diver. I'm Mike. I'm here to talk about some of the electronic tabletop games and also my book, Why Not Tabletops, which features a lot of those games, some of which you can see boxed here. Housekeeping, there's some flickering GIFs, there's some videos. Please ask questions as we go if you want to. That's great. So, just about the book. It's published by Numbskull Publishing. It's the first book the company's ever done. You might know them for lots and lots of other things. They do a lot of branded merchandise. Obviously, it's written by me. The photos are by a guy called Chris Crowder. The whole project was kind of spearheaded by a guy called Chris Hill. If you follow Games You Loved on socials, that's him. Various other people involved. And yeah, it's available right here at the Cave. Numbskull has a second book coming. You might have seen it on Kickstarter. Kim Justice is writing it, all about arcade games of the 80s. Looks really, really cool. So in terms of why make it, there wasn't really a book like it before. There's been books that cover, LCD games, handheld games, but not in the same way of really kind of getting into the feel of them and the aesthetics of them and what they really kind of represent. I've long thought it's quite an underrepresented part of gaming history. I've worked in the games media, in PR and marketing for over a decade, and it just feels like there hasn't really been the respect that this kind of part of gaming has been due. It's got amazing names. You can see Pac-Man up there. Obviously, there's Sega titles, Nintendo titles. Lots and lots of collector appeal, which helps. If you're making a book, hopefully there's an audience for it. And I know a lot of people do like to collect these games. And it's just a great chance to see home gaming, I suppose, from a different perspective. Like see how the arcade inspired home gaming, slightly different way. What's in it, what's not. So we have over 50 games in the book. All the photography is original, primarily tabletop, with some VFD LCD, mechanical games, pinball. Some things that aren't in it, I can't tell you why this particular game gets asked of me a lot, but BMX Flyer is not in it. Not for any dislike of the game, just the fact that we've got X amount of pages, X amount of games, we've got to draw a line somewhere. Who knows? Maybe if this book does really well, we'll do another one. But yeah, no Tomitronic, which is a shame because I love those games, the kind of 3D ones you put up to your face. Big fan of those. Other things in the book, we've got to look at what else was going on in gaming. Like I said, I worked in the games media for a long time. I've written previous books about gaming history, so that's very, very interesting to me. Little profiles of manufacturers, little profiles of, not profiles, like photos of all the machines together. Got some kind of personal thoughts from certain YouTubers, Ashens, John Hancock, some other people, Jason Bradbury from The Gadget Show. I actually did a panel with a load of those people at Play Expo last year in Blackpool.
on the off chance anyone said that. It's a bit of a unlikely thing, but you never know. And yes, thanks to 871 people who backed the book on Kickstarter to make it happen. Did any of you back it on Kickstarter? It's all right. I don't think any of us do. Thank you for being here.
I haven't been aware.
No. Cool. Right. So I suppose to start with, when you go back to when I was first playing games in the middle 80s, you'd hear like what was and what wasn't arcade perfect bandied around a lot, right? And of course, in that kind of mid 80s period, early 80s, mid 80s, probably through to the middle 90s, really, the only way to get the arcade perfect experience was to go to the arcade, right? Because anything you played at home was distinctly limited. Like, I'm sure all of you have seen Pac-Man on the 2600. You know, compromises had to be made, okay? Hardware had limitations, you had to change the control schemes, and that kind of arcade perfect, but you couldn't get it at home, right? So just for fun, this is why I was hoping that people can see the screen all right. Can you name these Atari 2600 ports before we go any further? Starting with this one. Anyone? Top left?
Saxon.
This room's going to get this. This is great. This one here? Top one. Track and field. Interesting, cool. Any advance on track and field? Bottom left?
Donkey Kong.
And then bottom right.
Defender.
Let's go through them, starting with what I think was the easiest, yeah? Defender, absolutely. Donkey Kong Jr., whoever shout that, great spirit work. Who's the track and field? That's Double Dragon. Do you know what I mean, right? Nails the point of what I'm talking about. And then of course Zaxxon, very, very different from the Atari 2600. And I feel mean picking on the Atari 2600, but when these electronic games are coming through, that's the kind of number one console in the world, right? That's the big seller. That's the kind of, not necessarily the best, but it's the biggest selling. It's kind of the benchmark for what home conversions look like. Alarm clocks. Some manufacturers seem very proud of their fluorescent displays. Bandai in particular would put FL before their games, like Galaxian, Balbeam, Pengo, which is in the book, meaning fluorescent lamp. Other games used LCDs, liquid crystal displays, which you'll know from calculators and things like that. Obviously Nintendo's Game and Watch series used LCD very prominently from 1980 onwards. Nintendo also made a sub-series of tabletop games, only 4 in total, including Donkey Kong Jr., which you can see here. I think Mario's Cement Factory is behind me as well. Nintendo's ones were coloured, but they still used the same kind of basic, the way that they lit up. I'm not going to get into the technicalities of it in this talk, but yeah, they used light from above, shining through, mirror, present the image to the player. So what the actual screen was in the machine is kind of backwards to what you're seeing on the Nintendo ones. Manufacturers like Tiger, distributed by Grandstand, things like Afterburner. They did an Outrun game as well. They did loads. Obviously, you can see a lot of them over there. LCDs generally cheaper. They've lasted a lot longer in terms of being a viable kind of commercial product. So much so that Hasbro, which now owns these things, reissued a select number of handheld Tiger games. I want to say in 2020. I think it was X-Men and Transformers and some other things. They're terrible. They're terrible, terrible games. Not to upset anyone, but they don't. I don't think they're fun. But they're nice collectibles. They are nice things to look at. Bambino, Safari's Bambino there. So as mentioned before about the kind of physical side of these games, they're not only based on arcade games, but every game in the book is built for the specific purpose of playing that game, right? They're not like, there's no interchangeable cartridges. They are just built around that experience, which does obviously connect them to the coin-ops. It does connect them to the arcade, where here is a cabinet built for this game, generally speaking. Quite a lot of them have quite different controls to what people would be used to today. Joysticks. Well, they weren't really D-pads at the time. They weren't called that just yet. But controller buttons can be on the right or even centralized. There's some games that will have a central joystick and 5 buttons on both sides, depending on left or right-handed, which I quite like. Yeah, and the kind of the thrust of the book really is conveying what it felt like to play the games. You know, not just like here's some information off the internet or from the back of the box, but you know, actually sit there and play it. How far does the joystick travel? How squeaky are the buttons? You know, how shrill are the sounds? That kind of thing. So in a way, I look at them, and this was kind of underpinning the whole pitch of the book. Really, was these are arcade imperfect games, but within themselves, they're all, you know, brilliant at what they do. They call it. You've got records out. You've got clones aplenty. Namco doesn't know what to do with all the money. It's a good time for everyone involved. And Munchman is one of the first games to kind of come out from that. And what I always thought was interesting about Munchman, despite its kind of 90-degree tilted layout and the fact that your Munchman can only eat pills when he's moving to the left, you have to move right to go back left. It's really, really annoying. It was officially licensed. In other territories, this did come out as Pac-Man. Came out as Puckman in Japan. Coleco also released their own Pac-Man game. We'll get onto Coleco a little bit later, more of an American presence. But yeah, you can see here, like, you know, it's Pac-Man, right? And again, I love the fact that it's Pac-Man, but not. It's got a centralized controller. You can see Japanese advert real quick. I promise this isn't all videos. There are a few videos, but yeah, just wanted to show that, you know, this was a genuine Pac-Man product in Japan. Pac-Man. Yes, didn't translate. Just like how controls weren't standardized, nor was their branding. So when these games were coming out, you had Mario Cement Factory. This is probably more amusing to people like yourself, Ewan, because Mario definitely doesn't look like this anymore.
Mario isn't risking his neck against
With orange overalls.
back in cement in Mario Cement Factory.
What's that gonna sell?
A tabletop game from Nintendo, made so batteries can last 3 years. Batteries not included, with colorful characters and the story of the rise and fall of Mario. Nintendo tabletop games, 3 in all, each sold separately. Snoopy game, Popeye game, and Mario Cement Factory. From Nintendo.
There was 4 of them, not 3. So we can do, and they all came out in America as well, so there's not really any excuse. Yes, Nintendo had launched its Game & Watch series in 1980 with Ball. Again, there's some great examples just over there to see later on. Pioneered the D-pad, the Donkey Kong in 1982, and released 4 tabletop games. All of which, 3 of which also came out in the Panorama Screen series. There was Popeye, there was Snoopy, Mario Cement Factory, and Donkey Kong Jr. 3 of those are featured in the book. Snoopy isn't, because buying those games are really expensive, so we didn't get that one for the book. It would have been nice to, but we didn't. Yeah, and so the Panorama series had 6 in total, kind of complemented by Mickey Mouse, Mario's Bombs Away, and Donkey Kong Circus, and you can see them all here. Incredibly collectible. Has anyone got the set of 4? Not for the money they go for today. No. Incredibly, wonderfully expensive things. And just to kind of focus on Popeye for a second, and obviously Popeye in Nintendo's history is quite fun anyway. You know, Donkey Kong starts as a Popeye game and they can't get the license, and that side of history. But Nintendo had already made 2 Popeye games prior to this one coming out. But this is unique. It's not a platformer, it's not the juggling game from the Game & Watch, it's basically a beat 'em up, where the whole point of the game is to knock Bluto, Brutus, depending on where you are in the world, off the end of the pier, save olive oil, you know, you can get your spinach at some point. I was listening to a quiz on the way here in the car. When Popeye was on TV, it like pushed sales of spinach up by like 33%. See, more cartoon heroes should eat like stuff that's healthy for you, right? And then we'd all be in a better position. Anyway, so you know, you move back and forth. It's quite clear the instruction there. Punch. 2 difficulty levels. What's good about a lot of these games is, you know, being able to play in easy mode and not so easy mode. There are some VFD games that actually have adaptive difficulty. That's detailed in the book. There are some that, you know, if you're not doing very well, it will make it easier on you, which I quite like. That's something we think of more in console game, Resident Evil 4 does that famously, but there were people making games way back when who were doing the same thing. Game & Watch, as you heard in that advert, its batteries can last for 3 years. Not if you play the game, but you can just run it as a clock, and it will last relatively well. You're going to have a light directly above it though to actually see what you're looking at. And Popeye was, I think it's, I don't know when these were actually manufactured, but it was the last one released, and it kind of feels like a good fitting end to that kind of runner tabletops. It came out just after the Famicom starts coming out in Japan. I know the Famicom had a bit of a false start and they had to recall some, but the way that Nintendo kind of pivots then away from these dedicated toys, real arcade presence to home consoles, it kind of feels like that's the kind of sweet spot where it goes away from what they're doing in the handheld space. Obviously Game & Watch continues, but not to the same level. And the Famicom kind of takes over. Some of the books, I edited some books, Pac-Man, Sonic, I've done those. I'm writing another book right now on the games of Aliens, which will be out in April 2026 for reasons. Alien likers in the room will know what I'm talking about. I'm occasionally a retro gamer, and I've got some other pieces coming up soon in other journals on various games. Big fan of Snatcher, Hideo Kojima, weird cyberpunk game. Not at all creepy at all. And yeah, any questions at all about any of that? Yes, man in a cool therapy t-shirt.
Did you get to speak to anybody who worked in the industry? Or?
No, I didn't actually do this game, this book. Some of the other projects I've done are very interview based. This was kind of very much more about kind of getting hands on and playing the games and sitting down with them and having lovely photographs taken. But no, we didn't really go into like. It feels like that would be a cool thing to do. Like, how did those manufactured? Who was licensing these? But I always find that the trails go pretty cold when you go that far back. It's quite hard unless they're still around working in the industry. A lot of them are dead, which also doesn't help. But no, we didn't, sadly. It's all the kind of few perspectives. I mean, that's kind of why we've got a few other people in there talking about their favourite games as well, just to make sure it's not all me.
So there you go, guys. It was a great day. Another great day down there. These are really great events that the Retro Man Cave and Arcade Archive are putting on. This is the third, I think, I've been to this year. And they're really great days out. As well as that, you get to meet the person doing the talk as well. You can get them to sign their autograph, buy their book, whatever it is you want. There's also loads of great merchandise that the Retro Man Cave and Arcade Archive sell as well. So it's great to go down and support them because they need a lot of support. They need a lot of help. They're doing a great job down there. I noticed the arcade cabinets that they put out look fantastic. They're really well restored. They're doing a great job looking after the cabinets. And of course the Man Cave itself has just got unbelievable amounts of fantastic computers and consoles and magazines and original games in the W.H. Smith replica computer shop. It really is fantastic. So thanks again to Neil and for everybody putting the event on, and we'll catch you in the next video, guys. Thank you.